Hello, everyone, and welcome to Top Deck Heroes. Tonight we have a special guest co-host, Matthew Clarkus Turner, and always we have Kevin.
Hey!
We've got Kevin hanging out next to me because his internet sucks.
I'm
So,
not
More or
really a
less.
special guest host. I'm just a regular. I'm just like a regular substitute host.
yeah,
I'm sponsored. I'm a sponsored Rochester CCG player.
I don't know.
So,
It seems that you're a sponsored solo mid player right now, going by your shirt.
oh yeah, that would be sweet too. I'll take a solo mid sponsorship. Hit me up, Reggie. You know
Um,
me. I go to the highest bidder, Matt Hughes.
so
The
to uh,
higher
to
duds.
to ask people, Sean is I don't know. He wouldn't tell me. I'm assuming doing something with coworkers because that's where he was last time. But we've got Piglet, who's a much better host.
Damn right I am.
Yeah, Sean O'Brien is more of a behind the scenes kind of like pimp cane, like cat stroking type of guy. He's not the face.
So tonight,
Shit, yeah. People
so
don't want to hear Sean O'Brien's crying. They want to hear. They want me to get the UFS community fired up. All right.
woo,
All
yeah.
right.
All right.
Let's get
So
into it. Yeah.
yeah, tonight we've got our special guest who's bringing us some very special and controversial things to say, and a few other things he wants to bring
Controversial.
up. Uh, let's start off with what you brought up before the show about people complaining about the current meta.
All right, guys. So I watch pretty much all the UFS content that comes out, or majority of it, and lately I most definitely watch Top Deck Heroes and Total Justice Gaming. The two weekly big shows that have been going on for a while. I've watched those every week, and um, the guys on the show, which half of them are you guys, but have kind of been like complaining, in like the UFS community in general on the forums and everything, have been complaining a lot that the meta is like really broken, and they feel like a lot of cards need to be banned. Like they feel like maybe spinning Necro Driver's overpowered, Ever Hopeful's overpowered, Jiffany Jamber's overpowered, um, DeForester Superior Technique, just these really powerful cards, and they're like, hey, let's ban it, ban it, ban it. Well, a lot of people, and Matt brought this up in one of the other shows, haven't played UFS for the long haul. Some people have, but like, this meta compared to other non-Jasco metas is really nothing. Like, it's pretty diverse. Like, you have a lot of options. You have answers to these powerful cards. Like, there were cards in the game like Addy Syndicate, for example, where like there just weren't
Yeah.
many answers to it at all, and like you couldn't do anything. And like early Yoga Mastery, like if you didn't have Lost Memories or Ring Veteran, like it was pretty much done. And Void played all three of those cards so they could counter your counters.
Yeah, I love that card.
So
Yeah, I
so it's
definitely
just
think
like
the
it's
format
it's
right now
just
is
go
yeah.
ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, but basically, what I'm getting at is, and this is my personal opinion, I like more powerful cards in the metagame, and I think it brings forth a lot more fun, and the game is a lot more dynamic when Kevin is playing his Athena deck that everyone screams ban 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 at. When he plays a DeForester, you must answer that card. You must do it. And it's like this in a lot of card games. People play this really powerful card, and you have to answer it as fast as you can. And if you don't, you might just lose the game. And UFS has lacked that in the Jasco era. And me personally, I like that. That's how I like to play card games. And they're doing a little bit more to give more counters to it in some of these promos. But my opinion is I like that they're not doing bans. I like that the meta is really dynamic and powerful. And then I'll go ahead and let you make your point, Kevin.
Yeah. Kind of the point I was going to make was that I think my threshold for when we ought to ban something, when I want to say, yeah, this is too much, guys. We need to back off. We need to act some of these cards, take them out of the format to fix things. I think it just must be that my threshold for that is much higher than other people's. I'm way more willing to put up with things being overpowered or unfun or broken or whatever that you want to call than some of these people who are complaining about this. Like people say Ever Hopeful's broken. I think they just never played Ever Hopeful, sitting with it in their own staging area to know what it's like to have. I think when people say ban Jiffany Jamber, they just like
I don't
didn't
get that
play
one.
against that.
I don't get that one at all.
Sure.
Like
She's
they just don't
perfectly fine.
appreciate what it's like to actually build one of these decks and to be inside of it versus just sitting across from it and saying, "Oh, he's just gonna stare at me in Davos in 45 minutes," and that it's like they aren't overpowered when you actually see both sides of the table versus just being inside your own deck and saying, "Oh, I'm getting crushed."
Right. Matt,
Uh,
any comments?
for me, specifically with the two big cards that you brought up, DeForester and Everhopeful, the reason why I think they're a problem, and this has been shown in other card games, is DeForester you play in the Athena deck, and where I've seen it where it's been the biggest problem is when it gets put into play with Athena's ability. So it's not like you even have a turn to have a chance to react to it. It's just like, all right, it's down. I'm activating it right away. Ever Hopeful is a similar thing, where if you have momentum, I can just play it, bring it down, and start activating it right away. So you don't get a chance to try and draw and figure out an answer or play into some kind of answer. It's just it's there in front of you. If you don't have the answer right away, you're kind of in trouble.
And well, I think that there's this natural impulse to say, well, if there's a problem, there should be an answer, and that answers solve the problem. So like they're always healthy because like the answer cards are narrower, and it's like it's a healthier format. It's like cards aren't always good or whatever. But at the same time, I think there has been a problem in UFS, and I mean we saw this at Worlds with the finals taking 3 hours. Sometimes having cards that are fast and can't and are difficult to answer is itself a positive thing because they help push the game to actually finish. And when people are sitting there for 3 hours, that's a negative experience in itself.
Uh,
That's a matter of opinion, but I mean, I know Garrett and I, when we get to play an hour-long game one week, that's rewarding. That's a full
yeah,
hour of UFS.
like
But
I'm another person. I like playing the wall strategy game. I just I don't like it when anyone's symbol has far too many answers and effects over the entire rest of the format, which is more or less what Air has right now.
and I don't know that much about Hughes. I don't know that much about your card game history, but I
Hmm.
know that you're pretty vested in card game knowledge,
Hmm.
Broberg, and like, I mean, UFS mechanically is like it sort of caters to control players. It's hard to make aggro because the game is kind of built to drag on a bit, and most of the time when aggro has been really strong, it's been so strong that it's banned in the form of Huitzel or Truong, sort of decks like that.
Can I speak to that idea a little bit?
Of course,
That
of
the
course.
game's slant to control, and that so I think that fundamentally, like in trading card games, in any game that's like UFS, Magic, even like just heads up games like chess to a limited extent, when you sit down before you say, well, what deck is player A playing, what deck is player B playing, who are they? Both of them are 50% to win. And so if you build an
Mhm.
aggro deck in UFS, and let's say you win every game on turn two where you don't check three consecutive threes, that's going to have a huge win rate because that only happens, if it's 1/3 attacks, like one out of 27 games to check three consecutive threes. But now if it's a more balanced stack where it's like 50-50 to win on turn two, then having a deck that stretches the game out more is more of a control deck, will perform better over like will perform better on average rather. You'll top eight more often on average. If a perfectly balanced aggro deck, you sit down, you lose on turn three because you haven't won yet. people aren't going to play that much. They aren't going to try to optimize that as much as they would for a control deck where they feel like they have a much better chance of winning than 50%. And when you have a Humusel
Sure.
deck that is an aggro deck that is actually good enough for someone like Ben Shoemaker or Garrett Brett to actually sit down and play, even though it's an aggressive deck, it still gives them the win rate they're looking to get. Then that's why it's got to be banned. Is because it's actually going to be like a 70% and 80% to win, even though it's turn 2 kills a lot of the time.
Like for me, it's I've always seen with every card game I played, no matter what the mechanic, control always ends up being the better strategy. Like specifically any form of denial. Um, so I think no matter what you do to the game, no matter what mechanics are in the game, no matter what the format looks like, control's always going to be there. So there's always going to be that guy who tries to play the deck where I just wall up and defend and I kill you with Navos. I kill you. I'm sure Garrett can find a way to win with Mudslide. Remember that card? Muds,
I don't remember. I
Mudhole.
don't know what that
Mudhole.
is.
Magic card.
It's
Mudhole.
a Magic
Oh,
card that is
Yes.
considered to be one of the worst cards ever printed.
Yeah.
It exiles
okay.
all the cards in your opponent's graveyard, or all the
I
lands
see.
Oh yeah.
specifically.
Yep. Just
Um,
making a bad magic joke, but I think that control's always going to exist. Um,
well, it's always going to exist, except when you're playing a format that doesn't support it at all. Like in Turbo, how much control is there? There's a bit, but it's not a
Yeah.
dominant strategy. Denying
Anacrus.
your opponent resources isn't a dominant strategy.
yeah, like that's also you've also admitted yourself. Like extended turbo's not really a very explored format. Like
What's your point?
there could be a really powerful control deck there, but no one wants to take the effort because control decks take more effort to put together. I think. So I think
Uh, that's debatable. I mean, aggro, especially in UFS, aggro is very um, like heavily based around like your deck being optimized. Like,
Yeah, it's a lot easier to
um,
optimize a deck that wants to play for the first 3 turns of the game and to say, "Here's how I'm going to win. I'm going to jam it in, and you're gonna be unable to stop me with my aggro deck." Yeah, I see Alex Marco in here saying that the funnest decks are the decks that aren't, we're going to lock the game up. We're going to be a hard control deck. Or aggro decks. They're decks that actually switch between the rules fluidly as the game progresses. And I
yeah,
agree with that absolutely.
yeah, that's why I'd
yeah,
like to see more gameplay. Like I really like what I've always tried to do is like I always make my control decks have the option to kill on turn two. It's why I like Rain Flush so much. Like if I have two Rain Flushes going into turn two, there's a pretty decent chance that I'm killing my opponent, unless their name is Clark. Screw Clark, by the way.
we're gonna talk about that in a minute too, whenever
Yep.
you guys are ready. Um, so him bringing up Clark just gives a good chance to
Let's segue, yeah.
Yeah.
This
yeah,
is an incredibly
a
deep
good
topic that
segue,
I don't
a
even
good
know exactly what we're
segue
talking
here.
about.
A good segue here. Where what I'm going to say is that there was a topic of five-handers that I think you guys made a couple of weeks ago, and Kevin brought up a topic, and he was kind of saying like, "Hey, the best way to beat five-handers is like to try and one-shot them," which it is a strategy that it is an okay strategy if your deck can do that. But
Yeah.
the issue with that is some people play other five hand size decks, six hand size decks, and might not be able to hold the cards to do that. But I would highly suggest to people, and like this is kind of a well kept secret, that because not a lot of people play five handers, so not a lot of people know to take this approach. But if you can quote unquote turn a five hander into a six hander in the first 3 turns of the game, then you're going to have a good you're going to have a better chance of winning than you are going from 34 to nothing and letting them have their control board out. Attacking Clark on turn 2 is really strong. I'm not saying playing a string of 4 attacks is really strong, but a fast poke for 6 damage that is really hard for him to block, and he doesn't have that much damage reduction on the board. I highly, highly recommend people taking that approach to the matchup. It is very, very good. It is very, very effective. The deck isn't built to block. It is built to block with your foundations. And in the
Yep.
first two turns of the game, the first three turns in the game, you a lot of the time don't have enough foundations to cover the attacks. So, playing an attack and building on turn two, and maybe playing two attacks and building on turn three can be very successful against him because you only are going to lose maybe one foundation on your commit and you'll be able to build out. And by turn three, you can play two attacks because you built a little more. So, one-shotting is an option. You have to definitely be able to control his board to do that. But I definitely want to make it clear, attacking the five-handers on turn 2 and 3 is something that you should be doing if
Yeah.
you're playing against them.
Yeah, I
So-
agree, and that's why I've liked playing Satoshi with the Void build recently, because I can attack someone who's a much higher vitality for me and put them down to my life total without losing any value, because my attack will clear
Right.
itself and draw it and replace itself. Like that's what I usually did whenever I played against anyone who had any more vitality than me.
Yeah, Satoshi.
I like the poke game.
Satoshi is a really, really strong character. I like him a lot.
Like I don't like the killing everyone in one shot turns, like how the game's evolved right now. I want it to be more of a poke game, and that's what I always try to
Right.
build my decks to do, is to play a poke game safely without getting punished.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I usually don't have too many troubles against Clark. It just could be a headache, because when someone who plays Clark that knows what they're doing, such as you, oh my god, it can be a pain. It just
It's hard to play against. I mean, people struggle with the character, which is why I played him for so long anyways. I was telling the guys earlier I am going to be taking a break from playing Clark and working on I'm starting to play Bishamon now, and he's probably going to be my new character that I play in the season and really fine tune and get a deck strong for. But
I think fundamentally,
it's something you have to
the thing
you
that
have to
need to
prepare
have
for.
against Clark is just the ability to scale up your damage output. Like, you hit him on turn
Sure.
2 and turn 3, you deal 10 damage, that's great. But if he keeps building 4 and 5 foundations a turn, those pokes let you take advantage of that. Like, they let you punish him a little bit for playing out all the cards in his hand. But dealing the last 24, the last 18 against a giant staging area with all the damage reduction, with Clark's R, can still be very challenging. I know I watched Andrew Forrest play a match against Clark with his Jada deck, and he chipped him down to like 16. But at that point, just his entire he could stack his deck. He could draw 6 attacks a turn, and he still wouldn't really be able to finish the game off with that last 16 damage, because the biggest move he had was Spider Suplex, and it just didn't scale up that well into that kind of huge staging area versus huge staging area situation.
Yeah, and I think that Clark and I get in a bit of and I've had this debate with Garrett too, and he says that five-handers with defensive ability shouldn't be in UFS because it limits things. But I mean, where does he have the right to say that I can't play a 5-hand size 34 life control deck, but he can play an 8-hand size control deck? I mean, I think that his opinion is a bit hypocritical, personally. But I mean, I don't know. That's maybe a topic for another day. But it's just now I lost my train of thought talking about that. But what I was saying was Clark makes people deck build better. You have to build your attack base to be able to beat Clark now. He is a top meta deck. So, and this is one thing that Kevin and I tested a lot on Octagon leading up to the event, and he would put a deck together and say, "Hey Piglet, let me play your Clark deck. I need to see how good the kill strength is in this deck." And if his deck could kill Clark, then he felt like it was competitive enough to win. It could kill anything. So that is, it's kind of a good benchmark of is my attack base good enough? can I beat Clark? So that is something that I think is good for the game. Personally,
Yeah, I
I don't
think
think it's a
having
negative
a
aspect to
diversity
the
of
game.
strategies is definitely very healthy. Like you can like you can build a deck that kills Pharaoh Man, Lilith, Satoshi, whatever, Felicia consistently, but then it struggles against a 34 life character, and I think that's just like it's very comprehensible why that's different and what you need to do to deal with Clark. You need to hit him harder. You need to have scale up more into the game. You need to poke better on turn two. Like these
Hmm.
are all things that make sense. Whereas if it's like Jiffany Jamber versus like Ava versus a bunch of other decks that are just all getting card advantage and having a ton of life, then it's all kind of samey. And like the diversity is much better than just having everything be the same.
Hmm. I
And I think
agree.
that's almost self evident, honestly.
Sure, sure, sure. Um, Matt,
Dude,
do you have
Rikuro's
anything
boss.
to
What are you
Yeah.
say
talking about?
on the
No,
topic?
I've been going back and forth with the forums, so but for me, for five-handers, like it just on the minor aspect of you talking about not being allowed to play control with a five-hander, but you're allowed to with an eight-hander and other things. Like I think it's just one of the fundamental problems with UFS, which still this makes well, it's one of the best parts of UFS at the same time, but balancing hand sizes in this game and what each hand size is allowed to do is very hard. It's
Sure.
why most other card games try to not do variable hand sizes.
Hmm.
Um, I don't have too much to say about five-handers because I've just not played them really. I played Clark for like a week when I came back into the game years
Hmm.
ago, and I think that's the only five-hander I've ever played.
Yeah.
Because the only other five-hander deck I was working on, the week that I was about to go play it, they cycled the entire format out of the game.
Oh, what character was that?
I cannot remember his name. He was the 530 that had to do with tide counters.
Oh, that. Oh man, the guy on Aquakinesis.
Yeah,
Um,
Oh,
I think it starts with an S.
not Suzuki.
yeah. I kept on trying to say
Yeah.
Satoshi, and I'm like, I know that's wrong.
I think it's
But
similar to Satoshi.
yeah,
It's not. It's kind
It's
of a
opposite
similar name.
Kazuki.
yeah. Okay.
It was the guy on High Tide, yeah.
So Getsu.
Oh, never getting that.
Sogetsu. Yeah, Sogetsu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Well, if you guys have anything else, I guess we'll kind of transition into
I
our
played a
big
Chaos Goro
topic
deck
of the night.
recently that Shane had. That deck's really fun, and it's kind of
Ooh,
like a Chaos Control deck. It gets a lot of card advantage. It's really
very
interesting,
cool.
but it's very different.
So another thing I think you wanted to bring up was my going a little bit overboard with Master of Magnetism being the worst idea to ban.
Yeah, this is a kind of a bit of a
Which
personal thing to me. I know, like maybe I'm going to sound like a huge hypocrite here, but I'm here for the controversy, folks. Saying that I like broken cards in the meta, but Master of Magnetism created unblockable circumstances in the game, and you could say, oh, but the Andy attack it could create unblockables with Crash Slam, which you have a lot of off symbol that goes across six symbols. So a lot of there's a lot of deck options there. But there are just plenty of characters like Garrett played Terry one dot, and like I had a deck with it with Clark where you just
I,
play a
I
character
don't know if you
with
saw that Terry deck. That thing was a hot mess.
yeah.
I don't know how he came up with that.
But it's like you have these, and there's plenty of damage in like Earth and Fire, like a lot of damage pump, which Crash Slam has. But it's like you play, you just set up a giant Crash Slam, and it's like people like me and like Devin likes to off symbol stuff too. Like you see us, like I'm off symboling for little control pieces here and there, like Into the Sunset and Hanya. Like you better believe if I can set up upwards of 15 damage or more unblockables, like of course I'd off symbol for that. Like you have no option. Like you can just one shot a seven hander easy with a control deck. So me personally, I never liked unblockables. I didn't really. I know that they're in fighting games, but just for the health of UFS, I think taking blocking is such a. It's such a one. It's a really big skill set to have in UFS. It separate good. It separates good and bad players. You know when to block, when should you invest on the block, when should you just take the damage. Like there, I'm sure everyone can think of a time that they played where like they maybe held back on blocking, thinking that they could take a little more damage, and then it bit them in the ass and they lost the game. Like there's so do you use your resources? Do you keep your resources? And just taking that like whole step, I mean, it's a fundamental part of UFS. Taking that out of the game seems really bad to me. I wasn't a fan of Promo Lien, wasn't a fan of Dirty Pool being in the game. So me personally, I think it was a good call, and that's what kind of Jason was going for. It was a ban on the fundamentals. So, and like when you take a card,
if we're calling you a hypocrite,
yeah, go ahead. Call
how
me a
many
hypocrite.
non-throw decks have you played in the past years of UFS in tournaments?
Well, I'm playing.
Those take away blocking too.
Yeah.
Yes, and the reason I play throw decks is because blocking is so strong in UFS. You almost always plus over your opponent. Throws are the way to counter your opponent plussing because you go negative into their turn and then your opponent gets a fresh hand. So throws are inherently overpowered, and I am a sellout that plays overpowered decks, and I go to the highest bidder, and that is why I play throw decks. All right.
I just think there are no sacred rules in design. Like when you say there should never be an unblockable attack, I think that there should be a continuum of how good unblockables can be without compromising the good gameplay, without saying that, oh, well, there's no skill testing anymore because no one ever blocks. Because that was the case we were in the very start of the game, where Dirty Pool was everywhere, where blocking, just no one cared about blocking.
Yeah.
And because there were so many alternatives to blocking that were just better. Like Yoga Mastery, all of their damage prompts, now you don't need to block, who cares?
Sure. And
Now
I mean,
we're at a point where
that's
blocking is
how
very
I feel.
good and very important.
And that's how I feel about five-handers personally. I think it's better. You're so limited on your hand size, and like Jason's kind of he's kind of trying to limit the amount of draw power on foundations, like repeatable draw power. Like if you want to draw cards, you usually have to attack right now. So like the whole reason I came up with the Clark like wall idea is because, in my opinion, it was better to damage reduce than block. It just was, and I think it is for five-handers. And it is kind of taking that aspect away from the game. But throws, you still have the option to go into the block step. I know people played me in Vegas. When I really needed to block, you're damn sure like I blocked. There were times I can't just damage reduce. Like there are times that I have to block. I think taking the step. I think where I say about it here, and you get an option to block in throws. Taking the whole block step, which is such a fundamental part of UFS, away by making an unblockable attack, I think that's the issue there, basically.
I mean, the enhanced step is a really big format as well, a really big part of the game as well. It's very skill intensive. You agree?
I do agree. Yes.
It's a
So,
shitty argument. Let's cut this out.
no.
I
So,
know where he's going with this. Go ahead.
shouldn't we remove concussion blast and kneecapper from the game? They make us skip the enhanced step.
Now you're putting really stupid words into his mouth, and it just looks bad on you.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Dave Wagner is an extremely unskilled player, which is why he plays flash decks, because he doesn't have the mental. Oh dang, my phone fell.
Man down.
He doesn't have the mental capability to enter the enhanced step, so he plays these flash decks as a crutch to help him out. So that is sort of, maybe we should just go ahead and end the flash keyword there. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea.
But back to just the Master of Magnetism for a bit.
Yeah.
Because we don't really want to talk about this too much more. Because the center of reason why I brought up was really I was just salting about problems in general last week. And that just happened to be like both something Sean and I had touched on where we're really upset they got banned. Me because I really liked the idea of the card. Kevin or Sean because it was his baby that he designed, and he doesn't like his children being banned.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
And to be
Um,
fair, like
it.
it exists to help fight against Templar and Leaf
yeah,
Shield and all these cards that are really
Yeah,
good decks.
I'm not saying
yeah.
I necessarily liked. It isn't necessarily like I disliked Master of Magnetism that much. Like they could have banned like the car. They could have banned Crash Slam and like the Andy attack, and I would have been
Yeah,
fine. I just
yeah.
don't think they should be in a format together. Basically, like if you, in my opinion, like you had to have one or the other. And I guess I feel like they went with Master of
All right,
Magnetism.
let's ban Crash Slam then.
I feel like they went with Master of Magnetism because that let them ban less cards, I guess, you know.
Yeah, Devin brings up a point that with Master Magnetism around, everyone will just play wall decks instead and just say, "Well, you can't block my stuff, so here we're gonna wall up and then like do 80 damage crash slams to you and kill you with those."
Like
Right.
some of the biggest things people are complaining about is people blocking and reusing Everhopeful on the opponent's turn, and just also
Mhm.
Templar in general in the air decks. And Master of Magnetism stops that cold.
Yeah, it
I think
does.
the
It
the
does.
idea here is that
Like I understand
they
that there
wouldn't
are more
complain about the things
ways.
that they're complaining about, but they would have objectively worse things to complain about instead if Master
Yes,
Magnetism were
I guess I'm seeing that there's more ways to damage pump Crash Slam than I thought, even with Mourning the Lost ban now.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
Oh,
guess I should.
Born in the USA. I mean, Earth. Just go look at Earth Foundations and look at all the damage pump. Like, and then pick a character that can give 3 to 5 damage on an attack. And
So I
yeah,
guess I should be adding on to it the let's ban Crash Slam instead.
yeah. I
'Cause-
mean, I think you have to have one or the other. Do I think Master of Magnetism needed to be banned if there wasn't Andy's elbow and Crash Slam in the format? No, probably not. But it is. So, and I just don't like that fundamental part of the game being taken out. But we've had our discussion on this topic. If you guys don't
Yeah.
mind, I'd kind of like to
Oh yeah,
transition
let's
into the
get to
big
the
topic
meat of
of
what you
tonight.
want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, so the big topic I have tonight, which is sort of like, I've been talking about me bringing up some controversial discussion, first being a cardboard tournament at Gen Con. This is going to be my big controversial thing and when I bring up topics like this, I encourage, anyone watching, I want the UFS community to talk about this. I want people to mention it to Jason. I want people to mention it to Shane. I want people to mention it, to top players. Like, I want this to be discussed in the UFS community because to me, this seems like a big problem. Some of you guys tuned in to my stream. Not my stream, it's Fernando's stream, but I was on stream playing the King of the Hill tournament a couple
When are
weekends
those
ago.
videos going up? He said they're going to go up on YouTube, and they
N-
still aren't.
Nando has been really busy at work, but he's editing them right now. So he has them. He's just finished editing them. All good things you have to wait for, Kevin Broberg. So get over it.
You're
But
right.
basically, I had a conversation with like Fernando and his brother and this other guy that we're friends with, Andy. They all recently got into UFS within the last year, and they were saying that they really liked the game, and like a lot of people talk about this, Neomax being hard to get, and there were decks, and Andy especially, and he and I had this conversation. He is a very good Felicia player. He won the first league, Atlanta League of UFS that we had playing Felicia, and he told me, he said, I would really like to play the Nevos Robert Ultra Felicia deck that everyone plays, but I literally can't get a hold of those cards. And Fernando, I know, has pretty much been like, hey, I want a play set of Robert's Ultra Rare. Name your price, I'll pay it. And still no one has like come out and been like, yeah, like, $500. And like no one is even interested in selling or making any money on them because they're so scarce. It's so rare. So instead of just talking about the problem over and over, I'm going to bring up something that I think could be a solution. And I want this to be talked about, and I want this to go around the UFS community, and we're going to see about it. Um, the first thing first thing I'm going to say is before rotating. This is kind of a weird transition, but let's say this. Jason said that Red Horizon is a core set. It is their franchise license. It is very important and personal to them, and they always want to have Red Horizon cards. All the promos are Red Horizon. And if the game grew really big, they can print more Red Horizon cards, Red Horizon sets at any time they need. My idea for this is KOF cannot be printed anymore. Any of the KOF sets. And yep, Sean was just saying Neomax Ruler Time, KOF 13. Sean is just talking about I think he said he's out of KOF 13 boxes, can't get any more. If you want access to Red Horizon boxes or Red Horizon cards, you can get every Tides card on drive-thru for a character right now. You can get the whole set in play sets for, a couple $100 or whatever. My idea is we keep Red Horizon in the game. We rotate the King of Fighters sets first. So I know that's weird because those sets have been out longer, but you have to look at the issues at hand. These KOF cards, there will be no more of them. It is keeping people out of the game. If these sets stay legal for another 2 years, it is going to keep people out of competitive UFS. Andy was telling me, that is a reason, him not being able to get those cards and he can sit across from someone playing them is a reason that he does not play this game, in major events, cardboard events. He chooses to play other games. That is keeping a very good player from playing and representing Atlanta, and I don't want to see that. So kind of my idea, and I want people to give their topics on it. I want you guys to hit me up on Facebook, on the forums. Do you think, and I think a lot of people can really get behind this, kind of the same way with the Gen Con thing. My idea behind it is, you don't say, hey, and another thing that I'll say, the big issue here is Neomax. So, we can't print 3 sets and rotate Neomax last because, just on history, it takes too long to print 3 sets. So you rotate all of KOF at one time. 10 sets in a format is a lot of sets. There's so many cards to choose from right now. It's so hard to get your numbers and tweak your numbers quite right. And so I think that taking 3 sets out of the game wouldn't be too horrible. And everyone's like, oh, well, hold on, Piglet. I want my Trinity guys to still be worth money. I understand that. So here's what we do. We make an announcement saying that, something like at the end of this year, all of the King of Fighters sets will rotate. Okay? So there's still going to be Gen Con. There's still going to be UK. There's still going to be Pro Tours. People that want to play Trinity Geyser decks can still go out and trade and get their hands on Trinity Geysers and play them for another 6 months, or no, more than 6 months, another 9 months out of this year. And people that, like me personally, I don't think I'm going to play a deck with Robert's Ultra for this year, so I can offer those up to trade Fernando now. We're opening up the market. People can still get a chance to play with these cards and win with these cards. And then some people like myself, I'm just hoarding them because they're hard to find right now. If they're going to be gone for the rest of the year, I'm not going to play them. Let's put them out there. Let's let people get their hands on them. Everyone gets to enjoy them. Everyone gets to buy and sell. We keep the market strong until the end of the year, and then we be done with it. And then when a set comes out, we can reprint more of it. And and then we rotate Red Horizon after that. So I kind of want that to be discussed. I want that to go around the UFS community. I think it is what's best for the game. I think if we don't do it, we're not going to get new players in the game, which is a big problem. And I'm going to have Matt and Kevin talk about it because I know I've talked probably about for 10 minutes about
Yeah,
it. But
that's
you
fine.
guys go ahead and make your points. I just kind of wanted to get
Um,
everything out.
for me, I largely agree with the idea. Like, I 100% agree that KOF and specifically Neomax is the issue. It's just my problem of I like the KOF set in general. I like a lot of the cards in it.
Hmm.
I don't like the Red Horizon. Like, I like Red Horizon as a franchise, but the cards that I liked from Red Horizon were already reprinted as promos.
Uh-huh.
We already got Red Horizon, Valiant Assault, Concussion Blast. Those already got reprinted as promos. I think everything that we would have wanted from both Red Horizon Tides got reprinted as a promo, and I was ready to just jettison that set and just start over with Blood Omen once it came out. Um, so that's why I'd kind of want, like, so it creates this problem where I want both to happen, both the Red Horizon and Tides and all of King of Fighters to rotate, but that's a major shift with a lot of cards
Sure.
leaving the format,
Yeah, that's a
similar
lot of cards to
to
leave.
similar to the days of Fantasy Flight when they did a mass rotation. Like, we'd
Right.
still have more cards, because when that rotation happened, there was literally 3 sets. It was Shadow War, Soul
Yeah,
Calibur 4 Set
that's
1,
game
and
killing.
Tekken.
Like there were such bad problems in the format, and like we can't do that.
Yeah.
Like no one plays Turbo already because no like people complain it's too shallow, and it's exactly the format we'd be turning into without King of Fighters or Red Horizon.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of problems with letting King of Fighters kind of rot in the format and keep people from playing the decks they want to play. Keep people from playing the full range of cards because those cards will just not be accessible anymore. And taking any step forward to solve that, I think, is very valuable. I remember having a very similar conversation of this several years ago after a Canadian Nationals event, where I think it was Keith Disrow was talking about he had been playing Angels and he was winning with Divine Tribulation all over the place. And someone saw him playing and said, "I love your deck. Help me play it. Help me build my own. Like and I have this money, but there were no Divine Tribulations anywhere on the market." And that's what we've got going on now, where you can kind of work around not having Roberts off Smash Kick or Nivos,
Or
but
Trinity Geyser.
if you want to actually play with all the cards, you can't. And that's the problem we have to solve first without killing the game, I think.
Yeah, and I think that I feel like the players that have been in it for the long haul, not the people just getting into the game who we're kind of doing this for because we want what's best for the game. It's like, I feel like I've gotten my money's worth with KOF. If we rotate the KOF sets at the end of this year, KOF one's been they printed all of them at the same time. So KOF 1, I guess, has been about 3.5-ish years. And then the other sets. But each of the sets each of the sets almost got about 3 years. So I feel like that's a fair amount of time for them to be in the format. But, it's like.
I absolutely agree.
I mean, this is a big problem we have. We have to do something about it to answer it if we want our game to grow.
Yeah.
And this is the only good option I've thought of. I would love for other people to input and give options, but I mean, you don't have the option to print more Neomax boxes, and you can't print promos that with Reese that read Trinity Geyser or Nivos, So I mean, that's not an option either. So they have to go. I don't see anything else. What do you guys think?
The biggest problem, and it's the core complaint that everyone has, that Jason, Shane, and Nathan have heard plenty of times, in that we just need more sets to come out. And
I think there's a bunch of things that'll solve these problems on their own.
Sure.
If the currently scheduled rotation, like that rotation schedule where we'll lose Neomax in like 5 sets down the line, 6 sets down the line.
Mm-hmm.
If we had consistent releases ever since last July on the same schedule between Mega Man to Darkstalkers 2 to Blood Omen to everything else down the line,
Mm-hmm.
and had been consistent, we'd be having this conversation and it'd be saying, okay, Tides of Vengeance rotated, we're about to rotate out King of Fighters, and we want to rotate Neomax with it, or instead of King of Fighters, for example,
Uh-huh.
because now it's the time for this to happen. But it's so far down the line, we really need to do something to make this happen, to keep the game growing and keep people being able to be engaged with it. I think another very valid solution to this problem is to promote formats that don't contain Neomax or that don't rely on Neomax in the same way. To have people play extended, where you can build a deck with a bunch of champ cards and a bunch of ancient cards no one has any interest in, plus your Felicia starter deck, and you'll have a great deck. You don't like when you have Surprise There's a Napkin and Zealot Rush to help you with your attack strings. You don't need Ryujin Kyaku as much. Or you can promote Turbo, which just by the rules will never contain Neomax, and I think was invented in part in anticipation of this kind of problem, where where the King of Fighters sets aren't available for people to buy into, and we want to have something where newer players can dip their feet into a little bit, build their own decks, and not have the same kind of constraints of the larger standard format.
Well, I'm going to go in with some more controversy here, especially since I am an extended champion. But I think for the same reason, we don't need to put the emphasis on the legacy and extended. I don't think we need to put the same emphasis on the legacy and extended. I know we're not putting that much emphasis on it now, but I know that you guys were talking about doing like an extended circuit and stuff like that. If it was up to me to vote for it, I would be very much against that. I think it's still limiting to new players just to get the older cards, especially some of the Fantasy Flight cards. You can't you can't find that stuff. I've talked about the turbo format a bit too. I like the idea of the turbo format. Maybe in another video I'll talk about why I don't like it, why I don't play it, but that's a topic for another time. But I just think that I just think that sometimes you kind of have to let things go, and it's just it's maybe not necessarily any. A lot of it has to do with the release schedules, and and everyone said this the whole time, but the plan that they had was for a certain release schedule. We didn't meet that part of the plan. Okay, so now we have to change. We have to change the rotation plan. We just have to do it. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure Kevin will have something to say about the extended thing. It's just it's just
awesome.
hard. It's hard for people, and I would enjoy playing it. And I'm not saying get rid of it altogether. Have an extended championship once a year, and the people that want to play in it enjoy it, play it. But playing extended every weekend isn't growing UFS, in my opinion. Offering an extended tournament to a play group once a week over a standard tournament, or play in the extended Empire circuit instead of the standard Empire circuit isn't going to grow UFS. And that's just my opinion. I'll let Matt and Kevin say what they have to say about that.
Well, I think going to a bunch of new players and say, hey, come play our Eternal format, where cards from 10 years of, the last 10 years are all legal, that presents kind of an intimidating barrier to entry. But if people want to play a format where there are more cheap, powerful cards, where you can buy Divine Tribulation for you buy a playset of Divine Tribulations for $35 and get more kill potential in a can than the entire standard format. I think that's a small selling point, and having a more power, having more interactions, having cards that won't rotate out, that appeals to some people.
Sure.
And for those people, extended might be the right format for them.
Sure.
And if they want to start playing extended and have that be their local, that should be up to them. And I think that, no one's doing that right now, as far as I know. Maybe the Amsterdam folks are, but if they were, I think that's it's kind of underserved. I think no one talks about it. I think it's really cool. It's really deep. It's really exciting, but no one does it.
For me, the only thing I want to be doing with older cards is playing Cube. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm with you. I don't really care about an extended format. I just want to make a cube with those old cards, which we should talk about
Yeah,
too.
I feel like I don't know. I thought that would get. I was surprised that
Yeah.
especially Matt Hughes being like a bit of like a you know uh, like
Mhm.
the discussion type of person he is,
Mhm.
debater that he is, that he didn't really feel some type of way about Kevin saying the you guys are going to have 6 extended tournaments instead of 6 standard tournaments,
I
because I would have had some words for Kevin Broberg if I was playing in those 6 tournaments, but that's just my personal
I
opinion.
personally, I've only heard very little about this plan with
Sure.
the extended formats. Um, I haven't talked to Sean to see if that's actually going to happen.
Hmm.
I I don't want it to happen either, really,
Why are you saying no to tournaments? Why not let people play?
because I barely have the ability to show up to the standard ones.
Well, I'm not saying say
There's no
no to
requirement you show up for all
tournaments.
these events.
I'm not saying say no to tournaments, but it sounded like what you guys were proposing is you were taking tournaments that are you were taking standard tournaments and minusing standard tournaments and adding extended tournaments. Now, if you're keeping all your standard tournaments and not minusing those and only adding extended tournaments, by all means, but I would
Yeah, New
never
York State's
support
having, I
taking
believe,
away.
3 or 4 standard pro tours this season, and with those, the kind of the sense we had was that the urgency to have a standard Empire circuit on top of all those pro tours was somewhat lessened, and that kind of we could take the Empire circuit and service like an alternate field that's not going to necessarily have a lot of pro tours, and let people do something a little different if they get sick of standard or whatever. And that it was really going to happen in the first place because of so many standard pro tours. So we
Sure.
could take it from no Empire circuit to extended Empire circuit.
Well, I don't know. I think if people are playing in a quote unquote, I mean, we'll call it a major, non cardboard major event, Pro Tour, your
Sure.
Empire Circuit events like that. We had what we called RAN bats or ranking battles between Georgia, Tennessee, and South Carolina, like circuit type events. I think if you set them up around like Pro Tour times where you have one, you know, major event a month, I think that that's really good. I think that that's what we're kind of trying to do with the King of the Hill stream and stuff like that. We set it up to have some really tough competition once a month, and we all really enjoy that and look forward to that. And that works for us. Maybe that doesn't work for everyone, but I feel like we're playing a competitive card game. Standard is the most supported format. You should be, if you consider yourself a heavy invested UFS player, you should be playing standard UFS once a month for 12 months of the year. I mean, that shouldn't be a problem at all. So, especially with so many cards in the format right now.
I guess my perspective is just that, yeah, you're right that extended is the most supported format, but you like how do you get a new format to be supported? You have to get some grassroots support. You have to get people actually playing the format if
Sure.
they think it's better for whatever reasons, such as being able to actually get all the cards in it.
Right. 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 All right. Well, um, I got not much.
That's
If
one
you guys have
where I'm
any
from.
final words to say on that topic, but otherwise, I think Matt, you wanted to talk about your UFS mod that you were doing, right?
Yep. You got anything else you want to say before I show it off?
Go ahead.
All right. So anyone who's seen my random rants on the forum on Facebook for the past couple days, I've been talking about making a mod for Universal Fighting System. There's a game on Steam called Tabletop Simulator. It's a physics engine that's highly modified, and I've been working on this for a little while now. I've taken and scanned in all the cards that are in the standard format. Um, the idea is this will kind of I think it has lots of pluses compared to Octagon. Octagon still has its bonuses right now. Right now, all you can do is search for cards by name. Can't search by other things. The main thing I'd have to do is make some sort of workaround at some point for that. Is I'm waiting for developers to add something, but right now it's like you get to physically move around your cards. It's a very easy interface for tapping and ready cards. Drawing cards, just hovering over, tapping in, goes to a hidden zone. And overall, everything just feels a lot more fun. You can actually physically pick up your deck and pick it up to shuffle it. This is just I haven't finished making the playing area yet. Um, I'm also designing it to get players into the game that look at this mod from Steam and don't know what UFS is. So it's gonna have all the zones labeled and everything. It's gonna have the rules in it. We have infinity bags
Now,
of dice. Go ahead.
quick question, Matt.
Yep.
You said it has all the different zones. So, um, you put a card, from your hand into the card pool normally.
Yep.
But while you're doing that, do you put the card? Is there a transitional zone for you to put it in while you're doing that?
No. I
Oh,
could make
so
one.
in your basic UFS mod that is like the basics of UFS, there's no transitional zone.
Well, he doesn't have a dedicated zone for a deck or a discard pile or a staging area either. So
Yeah.
those kind of advanced theoretical kind of differences are not quite
Like,
available.
there's gonna be a labeled thing for stage area here. The two big things that I'm working on with people online right now is one, instead of people having to just pick a card up off the deck, press the F button to flip it over, and then lay it down in the discard pile, there will be a button on each side of the table that you can just press, and it'll flip the card over for you. So it'll have its own
Matt,
control
you
check.
checked it too.
Yeah, I
I
saw.
think you failed your check.
What?
I think you failed your check.
Probably.
Your turn's probably over.
Yeah. Okay.
You
Well.
should probably pass your vote.
Yep. You just got back swung with double rain flushed for game 2.
No. Let me
So
see.
just to make it sting a little worse.
I believe I caught Renee. It passed.
You checked the two's still there.
Hush. But the other big thing I'm working on that'll take a little bit while to do because I don't know scripting very much. It uses Lua, so if anyone knows Lua and wants to help out, that would be nice. But we're going to make a self-organizing staging area. So when you end your turn and you bring your cards all down to the stage area I got lined out, it will sort everything by name and then take things there are multiple copies of and stack them so they're slightly down and adjusted to each other, so they're each a separate card still. And it won't like lock the cards in there, so you'll still be able to tap them and ready them and flip them and put them into your discard pile. So everything's still a work in progress. My hope is to put it up before I go to Poughkeepsie with a control check button. But for right now, all the decks are here. I'll make a video showing off how to make a deck and everything. You just have to pull out all the copies of the cards that you want for your deck. And then you can just copy paste and make the amount of cards you need for every card type. And then just save your deck, load it up with a friend, and go.
Yeah, so Tabletop Simulator is a
Sounds
game.
cool.
It's really a general tabletop simulator. So for any kind of board games, card games, anything like that, and it's really it's got a lot of powerful simulation features. And so the big benefit over Octagon is that Octagon's just this two-dimensional board. It's really lifeless and dead. And this, things are a little bit more three-dimensional because I know how to actually talk.
Yep.
And you can actually flip them and move them around. And actually feel like you're holding cards rather than just
like you can
sliding.
press the Alt key and get a zoomed in copy of the card on anything you highlight over. You can actually zoom in and look at the field if you want. You can move the camera around, reset the camera pretty easily. Like it's all just, it feels a lot more intuitive than Octagon, is what I'm trying to say. And another thing is, say you're playing an online tournament and you get bored. Trying to wait for someone who's going really slowly. All right, we're bored. Let's come on down here and let's play some BattleCon. You can easily just load up into another game. You can save the state at where you in if like you want to set stuff up for another time, then go and play another game. So I think this will be a really fun thing to play, and the music is about to play.
And you
Sorry.
guys said it was really good. Like if we wanted to actually play like online UFS tournaments, it would be kind of an easier system than running Octagon, right?
Yeah. And
Nice.
it's a lot easier for adding in spectators. You could actually make someone who's a game master, so you could have someone that could be a judge and
Stop
modify the
showing your
field if
screen.
something's going wrong. Yeah, I should probably switch it back. So, all right, we're back to this. Sorry for not flipping the table, everyone. I couldn't see the chat because I was showing off the game.
Yeah, Matt had instead of having a separate window with the the game that he was showing, the tabletop simulator was over the window where his Switch dashboard is. Which is why you can see the dashboard after he stopped sharing that.
Yep. Don't worry, there'll be plenty of table flips when you play the game. Because, yeah, as people that know about this already have posted a bunch, the best thing about it is being able to flip your table when you get mad. So, I checked 3 twos in a row. Boom! Flip.
Does it just end the game too?
No, there's a rewind button, so you could just reset it and go back.
Oh
It's like,
man, that's hilarious.
so it's like, all right, I'm done salting. Go back to normal. People want me to flip the
Oh,
table,
man.
so I'll reload it back up and flip the table. Someone want to talk about the upcoming events that are happening while I load this up?
Yeah, I'll talk about the upcoming events. Upcoming events, ladies and gentlemen. Let me double check, but I know what's coming up this month. This weekend, ladies and gentlemen, it will be
Throwdown.
how they call it, the Po Town Throwdown, the Poughkeepsie Pro Tour circuit for the Universal Fighting System. There's going to be some tough competition out there, folks. They're going to be Kevin Broberg. They're going to be apparently Garrett Brett. They're going to be Sean O'Brien. They're going to be Matt Hughes. You got Rochester coming out there. You got Poughkeepsie defending the home turf. Could maybe be a little Senpai Notice Me, Tim Keefe coming out. So, and anyone else that's coming out from the north, if you haven't let me know, you should have let me know, and I would have hyped this up a little more for you. But let me tell you some folks that did let me know. This was a big surprise. We're making this announcement now. There is going to be some Michigan represented in Poughkeepsie this weekend. It will be Poughkeepsie. Oh, well, what? I said that wrong. It'll be Michigan in Poughkeepsie.
Ooh.
There will be Slam himself coming out.
Oh,
he's finally going to show up at the event
with his boys, Stefan and Marcus. Marcus getting away from his girl to come out to an event. That's
all right. I am
that
much
happens.
more hyped now.
We all know.
Right?
Not only is Stefan obviously going to get second place in the Pro Tour because he is so good at getting second place. Silver medal all day, baby. You keep it up, Stefan. And Slam is not only going to win in Poughkeepsie, he is going to diversify Kevin Broberg while doing it. I just dropped it, threw it down. Locked. Kevin Broberg gets diversified this weekend by Slam. Slam goes on to win the tournament, and he never played.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yo, the hype was too strong. We lost him.
Game. Well, real quick. All right. Here's our table. I'll flip it. Oh, I see Piglet again. But I don't hear your face. I don't hear your voice. I don't hear your voice, Piglet. You killed it. But here's the table. Here's what you can do when you salt out. Whee! The grid still shows up. I didn't realize it was going to do that. Huh. Interesting. I learned something new. Thank you for having me come and flip the table again. And everything's back to normal again. Boop. Alright, so... Oh no. What will we do without Piglet's voice? I guess I can go through real quick and finish the rest of the PTC schedule.
That's not just the old thing.
It is. What the heck?
Click on Skype.
Huh.
Oh yeah, we've officially just lost Piglet. He's gone.
Yeah. It's weird because I've been going for a while. Alright, but... So I guess we'll finish off the PTC schedule and then probably close up for the night. So there's... Oh, Piglet? No, see, it's showing up now.
Is that in Skype or is that in?
This is the actual live feed. See?
Curious.
No voice from you, Piglet. Watchy doesn't know it's on.
That'd be pretty good.
So we've
So
got
next week we have Arkansas, Little Rock, March 19th to the 20th. It's gonna be an exciting time for those guys. The following weekend, or no, a couple weeks down the line, and the second weekend of April, on the 9th and 10th, there's a PTC at Gamers Paradise in Las Vegas, one of the many game stores down in Shane Duckworth's hometown. Then the end of April, we have the Omaha PTC on April 30th and May 1st at Run of the Mill Games in Omaha, Nebraska. That playgroup that has put like 5 people in the top 13 or something ridiculous like that of the Player of the Year standings. Following that, in May on the 14th and the 15th, the Rochester CCG 2K event in Las Vegas at Level Up Convention. It's not a Jasco Games sponsored event, and we're going to take advantage of that by, for example, not having any diversity. Sean O'Brien's going to let this event run wild and do some crazy shit, which is very distinct from the way in which Miles Tyler will be running wild in the Omaha event the previous weekend, or 2 weeks prior, I guess. Following the Las Vegas 2K, if you're a complete degenerate, you can fly up to Manitoba in Winnipeg and Amusing Games playing the PTC on the 21st and 22nd of May. We'll see who else shows up to Church's hometown up there. Following that, in June 4th and 5th at Millennium Games and Hobbies in Rochester, New York, we have a standard PTC awarding the same prize as all these other PTCs. But it'll be in Rochester, so it'll be the best world this year. Following that,
no, we're good for that. I'm just saying clearly it'll be the best one.
Not close. Like, I mean, Slam skipped it last year because he knew it was going to be too powerful convention, too powerful competition is what I'm looking for.
But that we don't need to go through all of them. To June's good enough.
All right. I mean, we gotta cover Millennium Games and Hobbies though.
We're
CCG hometown event.
We're a good like 10 minutes over. So
We started late.
Since we lost our Piglet, we'll be ending the show tonight. Got anything else you want to say?
Rest in pepperoni, Piglet.
Yep. Rip and pepperoni. Have a good night, folks.
Good night, everyone.